Welcome to another edition of Meeting with the Manager. I'm City Manager Erik Tungate. On this month's show, I will be interviewing our very own Mayor, Marian McClellan. Mayor McClellan is the only elected official who still serves on City Council since my arrival back in 2012. During that time, the city has transformed itself for the better in almost every way. While many people like to give sole credit to the city administration for the city's turnaround, it's important to remember that it takes a village, so to speak. That means that behind every major initiative and legislative change that enhances the lives of our residents and business owners is our elected body, and that elected body is led by Mayor McClellan. Mayor McClellan has always been a cheerleader for our community, and it has never been more important than it is now. In a moment, I will be asking Mayor McClellan to give us insight into how she views the progress we've made, as well as what she thinks the future holds for our great city. At this time, I want to welcome Mayor Marian McClellan to the show. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Erik. Nice to be here.
Mayor, so how do you view the progress that the city has made since the time you've been in office?
It's been night and day. When we started, and even before you started, the residents and the staff were dispirited. Not a lot had changed. We were in the middle of the worst financial crisis in the history of Oak Park. Oak Park wasn't a city in during the Depression, and so this was devastating. We were $4 million in the hole, didn't know where to turn. Before you got there, I found Steve Cooper, and against his better judgment, convinced him to take the job of Public Safety Director at a horrible time in our city, and we're delighted that he did that because he turned around that department. Just amazing changes in all kinds of ways. We were a communications desert. There is no newspaper in Oak Park, and there was very little communications with the people. Now, I am delighted and proud to say that other cities are asking us for information on how we do our communications, because it is phenomenal, and we can thank our Director DeSantis for upping the ante on getting out to the people. In addition to communications, there was no economic development in 2011. Other cities were booming around us, even though times had been hard, and we were looking pretty scruffy. Then we hired Kim Maroney, and she has made incredible progress in bringing new businesses to the city, bringing FedEx, bringing Planet Fitness, unbelievable changes in such a short time.
Yeah, and more to come, let's hope. So we've talked about some of the changes for the better that have occurred around here. So what would you, we have great staff, we have great initiatives led by City Council. What would you attribute the turnaround to specifically? Is it our staff? Is it that we've got a better budget? I mean, specifically, what would that be?
Well, before you came, we made one brilliant decision on City Council, and we decided to hire a fairly young city manager with incredible experience in economic development. And that brilliant decision was to bring you on board, and since you've come, you've exceeded my wildest dreams for what we could accomplish as a city in a very short time.
Well, thank you very much. So we know that City Council is always looking at ways to improve things around here. So what are some of the main legislative initiatives that the City Council is currently working on?
Well, it doesn't sound very sexy, but we're making zoning changes, and we're allowing outdoor dining, and we allowed restaurants to serve a Tom Collins with their shawarma. And probably one that people are very concerned about would be blight removal. People are worried about the worst house on the block. And the newest legislative initiative is to make it easier for our code inspectors to get quick compliance. And I think everyone is aware of the worst house on the block and would love to change it in a hurry. And this will allow our code officers to work faster and make a difference in our neighborhoods, to keep Oak Park the way we want it.
Right. Hopefully spend less time in court dealing with these matters.
Amen.
So I hear this all the time, I know you do as well. What can residents do, or business owners do, or everyday citizens do to get more involved in what we are trying to do here?
We would love you to come out to all the events. There aren't positions open right now on our boards and commissions, but those are all public meetings, and we'd love you to come and put your 2 cents worth in.
In your opinion, what makes Oak Park so special?
It's no doubt in my mind that it's our residents who are among the most supportive, I think, in the world. When we ask them for a big tax increase, Public Act 345, they didn't hesitate and overwhelmingly voted to support the city and what we're doing. We have one of the few stable, diverse communities anywhere. And I am so proud of that, and how well we all get along and are united and are moving the city forward.
In a very open government format, too. So we know that Oak Park plays a very important role for our residents and business owners, but I'm curious what your opinion is of the role that we play in the larger region and what role we could play if we would like to going forward.
I think that we have gone from being a horrible example to a model city, and I think that other cities are looking to us for ideas. We're also reaching out to collaborate with anyone and everyone who would like to. We are members of all kinds of regional organizations, the Michigan Municipal League, all the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, all these different organizations that we are active members of, so that we are united in speaking for our needs to Lansing and to other areas.
Absolutely. And so now I want to ask a personal question, actually. So, you know, I've known you for several years now, 5 years. And in the time that I've known you, your public speaking skills, as one example, has improved so much. And I know you have a story about that, so I was hoping you would tell that.
Yes, I'd be delighted. I spent my entire life avoiding public speaking. I stood and shook in 10th grade when I had to take a speech class and vowed never again. Then I won the election, surprisingly, and it dawned on me I was going to have to give a speech. So I did join a local organization, Toastmasters, but I was too scared to even speak at Toastmasters, but I did get their magazine and read about it. And I find that if you have a fear and you actually stand up and face it and do it anyway, you do get better.
Yes.
And the highlight of that was when I went to speak at the graduation of my former school, Wayne State University. It was a graduation. There were 500 students, parents, staff, board members. I was all dressed up in the fancy hat and gown. And I spoke confidently, and I was so proud I felt like I had graduated. So.
That's great. Well, last question here. I really, and I know a lot of people want to know, not only what does the future hold, in your opinion, for the city of Oak Park, but for yourself.
I see in Oak Park a booming retail area with attractive boutique restaurants and wonderful shops that draw people from around the region. I see regional activities. I think we've quadrupled the number of activities in the city of Oak Park in the last couple years. And I'm so proud of our recreation staff and our library staff and all the people involved in these kinds of events that bring us all together as a community. When we play together and we get to know each other, that's what community actually is. And increasing that, maybe we clone the library staff and the rec staff, only if we don't have to pay the clones. So more and better, more retail clusters. Maybe in North Oak Park, I see a coffee shop and a jazz bar and a boutique retail outlet. I would just like Oak Park to boom. When I go to visit my daughter in Bend, Oregon, Bend is a recreation center and they have weekly events in the summer, and we're almost to that.
Right.
So I see us just continuing on the great trajectory that we are already on, thanks to you and our amazing staff.
Well, thank you very much. And I also want to thank you for joining me on this month's show. So thank you.
It's been fun.
Thank you. Director Cooper and I will be discussing our new canine unit, as well as some other initiatives in our public safety department. Director Cooper, I want to once again welcome you to the show, as always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for being here. So we've heard a ton about our new canine unit. It's been a very popular initiative throughout the community, and I was hoping that you could tell our viewers about that new canine unit and who's on the team.
Absolutely. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for actually bringing the project to fruition here. And one of the newest members of our canine unit is Officer Mase, who's our canine. We have Mike Hoda Kowskis, who's the handler. And then Sergeant Joe Meyer is actually overseeing the entire program. It was a very stringent process as far as coming up, selecting a handler. We had oral interviews, we had home interviews, and went through a number of candidates and felt that Mike Hodakoski was the appropriate person for that position. Mase has settled right into the department and seems to be doing very well, so we're very, very happy about that.
And I can imagine, you know, I of course know the sacrifice that he and his family have put forward to take this on, but how do you see his life changing beyond that?
Oh, and I'm sure it changed a lot after actually Mase arrived at the home. Now, Mike Hodakoski has a couple of younger age children, and obviously with the new canine, it's like bringing a new baby to the house. So you have to share time with Mase as well as make sure that you don't neglect the children. He's done a really good job incorporating Mase into the family and also making sure that he gives the special attention to the kids. So they're kind of been like his helpers, and from what I've heard from him, it's going really well.
So now, speaking tactically in the department itself, what will the canine unit allow us to do that maybe we couldn't do before?
Yeah, well, just kind of a little background, this is our very first canine unit. In the history of the department, we've never had a canine unit. So traditionally, when we've had situations or scenes where we could use a canine, we would have to call other jurisdictions. Situations that we would use the canine would be search operations if we're searching for a particular person, evidence recovery, drug or narcotic enforcement. So you can see how that time is always of the essence. And if you don't have a canine unit on hand of your own, then you're calling a neighboring jurisdiction. So there's time delays, there's availability as it relates to if there's actually a canine available to respond. And by having our own very own canine unit, that eliminates a lot of the time issues and just really helps our officers to be more efficient when we're doing our job. So we're really pleased and excited about that.
What kind of accommodations did we have to make in the department, physically in the department itself, to take him on?
Yeah, one of the biggest accommodations that we had to make was outfitting the vehicle. As you know, the patrol vehicle is the officers, pretty much their office. And to house a canine unit, like I said, you have to remove the back seat. There's various cage type equipments that you would have to, that we had to outfit the vehicle with, all the way down to the antifreeze that you actually use in the Chevy Tahoes that we're driving, because we wouldn't want to obviously have a leak and then have Mase drink some of the antifreeze. Could cause some serious issues. But the way we actually set up and arranged the canine vehicle, it's totally different. You have an automatic latch release with a key remote, with a keyless remote that Officer Hodakoski keeps on his belt. So in the event he's out of the vehicle and needs Mase to respond to where he's at immediately, he has that ability without going back to the vehicle and opening up the vehicle. So like I said, some of the equipment, the computers, weaponry that you have in there, and then you have to have enough room in the vehicle for Mase to be comfortable.
Right.
Heating and cooling is critical. In the summer months, you have to make sure that you have the AC, special AC units and fans that will keep Mase cool during the summer hours, and then vice versa during the winter time. You want to make sure that there's enough heat and warmth for Mase as well. So that is one of the biggest challenges that you have to accommodate when you're looking at a canine. Now Mase we also have a portable kennel that we have the ability to station inside the department at various locations. So if Mase is not in a car, Mike's inside the station, maybe doing a report, putting away evidence or some other things, and Mase wants to kind of kick back and relax, we have an area where we can secure him in his kennel as well.
And I would imagine there's been many accommodations made at Officer Hodakoski's home as well.
Yes, absolutely. As far as the kennel, it's a more elaborate setup. There's an addition that we put on to Officer Hodakoski's home, where the kennel is actually connected inside the garage, and there's kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, a doggy door type of situation where when Mase wants to come out and get some fresh air, he's enclosed in a cage kennel type area, but he's able to come out in the fresh air, and then as well evening hours, or if he wants to just go inside, he's able to go through that door and actually remain in a secure kennel.
Sure.
So it's a little bit of a change for the family there as well.
I can imagine. So having him here, having him at home with Officer Hodakoski, I'm guessing that, and in the community itself, and I'm guessing you're seeing changes in morale as a result of this addition to our department, correct?
Absolutely. Morale is through the roof. Like I said, when you first announced that you were going to allow us to form the Canine unit, you could just, physically, you could just see how the officers perked up. And then once we went to the kennel and the training school, Von Lick, which is in Indiana, where we were able to select Mase and brought him back to the department, it was just great. The officers were, like I said, it was like bringing a newborn home. Yeah. All of the officers love Mase, and like I said, he's settled in really well.
Yeah. So last question, but the other night we had a ceremony to badge Mase, and we also had some special guests. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, what makes that so special, and then leading into why we named him Mase.
Right. When we initially went to Von Lick Kennel and selected Mase, his name was Ali. And they have several, probably a couple hundred canines that they actually house there. And Officer Hodakoski and some of the other officers were around. They had been talking for a while, and they thought it would be great to name Mase in honor of Officer Mason Samborski, who was killed in the line of duty back in 2008. And it had very special significance to all of us. And one of the things that we had to make sure before we actually switched Mase's name from Ali to Mase, we checked with the handlers at the kennel to make sure that there would not be, I guess, any drop-off as far as the training, or if that wouldn't deter or cause issues, which they said it was not a problem. And Mase responded very well right away to the name change, and you would think that he was named Mase from birth. So that's worked out really well.
Well, I want to thank you once again for being on my show as always, and thank you also for allowing this canine unit to go forward in your department. You've done a magnificent job in managing this department and taking these new initiatives on. So for that, we're very grateful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank Mayor McClellan for joining me on this month's show, and thank all of you for joining me as well on another edition of Meeting with the Manager. I look forward to seeing you again next time.